Welcome my friends. Today we're back with a new free posture assessment for Deepak. I'm Olivier Girard, I'm an ergonomist, a posture therapist, the author of the posture manual and the creator of the Posture Academy. The reason why I think this video is very interesting is that it gives us the opportunity to discuss two things that I haven't mentioned much. One is screen tilt and things. That's the second thing we're going to discuss. But the first thing we're going to discuss is what to do when you have a long upper arm, i.e. a long humerus. But first things first, what does Deepak tell me? He tells me that he has a history of neck pain, which is apparently getting better, but still he has pain in his hip and groin, and that pain seems to be worse when he sits. In my mind, when I hear this, I say, hey, this sounds like iliopsoas pain, especially as Deepak tells me that when he reopens the hip joint, things get better. So that's what we start from. But actually, if I look at this picture, I see a very interesting thing, which is that when he sits normal, well, basically his elbows are almost on his thighs, meaning that this bone is extremely long compared to, say, the torso length. And that can happen, you know, we all have our own morphology. But for him, it's big trouble because basically, well, if he tries to bring the desk down so that it's at elbow height, like I usually recommend, well, then the desk will hit on his thighs, especially if it's a bit of a thick desk. And that's where the two issues are connected. The issues of humerus length and the issue of hip and joint pain. I'm not saying that they are caused by each other. I'm saying that they can share a common solution. Meaning that if you happen to sit higher than 90 degrees in your knees, well, somehow you kind of remove the thighs from the way of the desk, and therefore you can sit more comfortably. Now, what kind of chairs allow you to do this? Now, if you use a normal chair like mine, when you raise your chair, the thighs go up and the heels go off the ground, making you slide forward. So what you need to have if you want to sit higher than the so-called 90 degrees, look at my video on height adjustment to understand why it's not so 90 degrees always. But what you need is, at first, at least a chair that has a sit pan tilt that can go a bit forward, or a seat that has a very short depth so that your knees can reopen without taking off your heels from the ground. So you see, if I tilt my own chair a bit forward here, that chair will suddenly become more tolerant to sitting a bit higher. But if the angle is too much, I'll feel I slide forward, or I will end up hollowing my back, and or. Hence, the right adjustment is, I sit too high, I feel pressure under my thighs, I get rid of the pressure, I lock. Yeah? And here, I'm a bit higher than 90 degrees, no pressure under my thighs, but I'm not sliding forward. And when you reopen the hip angle, provided that you don't hollow your back, you will lengthen a bit the iliopsoas muscle, and that will release the strain of it that you feel, Deepak, when you sit. So that was point one. Point two is much quicker. Point two is, if you look at that picture, there's a problem with the height and the tilt angle of the monitor. Somehow my impression is that the monitor is set to standing height, because when he's standing the height is more or less okay, but the monitor stays at the same height when Deepak is sitting, or at least as far as I understand. Bear in mind, the top of the monitor should be 10 degrees lower than the eye level, and whenever you look above horizontal, your eyes will go half the distance and the neck will do the other half, which will contract it, compress it, reduce the space that's made available for the nerve roots to exit the system. Regarding the tilt angle, well, the flux of the screen should be towards your face. I mean, no big surprise here. If I take a paper, when I read the paper, it's lower than my eyes facing me. You wouldn't read your paper like this or like that. Well, same with a monitor. That's it for today. Like, share, subscribe, and see you soon for the next one.